Most cars don't suddenly collapse the moment the odometer crosses 100,000 miles. They don't explode. They don't quit overnight. They slowly fade. One ignored service becomes two. One small noise turns into silence. And by the time the car finally gives up, the damage was already written months, sometimes years, earlier. Mechanics see the same pattern every single week. The warning signs were there, but drivers didn't know how to read them. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on what really matters after 100,000 miles. The kind of maintenance where a few $100s today quietly saves you thousands tomorrow. Because one of these failures doesn't give a second chance, it ends engines without warning. Let's start where safety and money collide. Brakes. Not the pads everyone talks about, but the system behind them. After 100,000 miles, brake fluid quietly becomes a liability. It absorbs moisture from the air over time, and after a few years, its boiling point drops dramatically. Under hard braking, that moisture can turn into vapor inside the lines. The pedal feels soft. Stopping distances stretch. And when you need the brakes the most, they respond the least. Flushing old brake fluid at this stage can completely transform how the car feels. Then come the parts nobody sees. Rotors that warp from heat cycles. Calipers that begin sticking just enough to cause uneven wear. Rubber hoses that crack from age and road salt. Parking brake cables that seize in cold climates. I've watched a simple brake service turn into a multi-$1,000 repair because corrosion and neglect were ignored. Preventive brake work usually stays under a few $100s. Brake failure doesn't. And once stopping power starts fading, the next system begins quietly eating your tires. Suspension wear doesn't announce itself. It erodes your car slowly. After 100,000 miles, shocks and struts often lose control long before they fully fail. The car still drives, but every bump sends the tires bouncing instead of staying planted. That skipping motion shreds tread, overheats brakes, and knocks alignment out of place. Ball joints loosen. Bushings crack. Sway bar links rattle. Steering starts to feel vague. Many drivers replace tires again and again, never realizing the suspension destroyed them. Data shows worn shocks can increase stopping distance by up to 20%, and neglected suspension can cut tire life in half. Refreshing worn components and realigning the car restores stability and confidence. Ignore it, and the repair costs snowball quietly while the car feels just a little off. Then there's the system most people are afraid to touch. The transmission. Past 100,000 miles, fluid condition matters more than most owners realize. Transmission fluid isn't just lubrication, it controls friction, cooling, and hydraulic pressure. Heat breaks it down. Additives shear away. Internal clutches begin slipping, creating even more heat. Microscopic debris circulates through tiny passages, accelerating wear long before failure shows up. That's why delayed shifts, hesitation, or shuddering aren't quirks, they're warnings. A careful drain and refill with a filter change can dramatically extend transmission life when done at the right time. I've rebuilt countless transmissions that never had a single fluid service. A few $100s in maintenance would have saved thousands. And once excess heat builds here, the cooling system starts paying the price. Overheating after 100,000 miles almost never comes out of nowhere. It's usually the result of coolant that's been breaking down for years. Coolant doesn't just manage temperature, it protects metal from corrosion. When its additives expire, rust and scale begin forming inside radiators, heater cores, and engine passages. Flow slows. Heat builds. Water pumps strain. Hoses weaken. Eventually something gives. That's why this mileage is critical for a full cooling system refresh. New coolant. Hose inspection. Thermostat replacement. Pressure cap checks. Radiator evaluation. And if the water pump hasn't been done, especially on timing belt-driven engines, this is the moment. I've seen engines destroyed not because parts failed, but because 10-year-old coolant quietly ate them from the inside. Cooling system service costs hundreds. Overheating costs engines. And when engines run hot, the ignition and emission systems begin to suffer next. After 100,000 miles, engine problems rarely shout. They whisper. A slight hesitation. A rough idle. A small drop in fuel economy. Spark plugs reach the end of their effective life. PCV valves clog and trap pressure. Ignition coils weaken. On direct injection engines, carbon builds up inside the intake, restricting airflow and robbing power. Check engine lights at this stage are almost never random. Misfires, oxygen sensor faults, evap leaks, and catalytic efficiency warnings all tell a story. Ignore them and unburned fuel overheats the catalytic converter, turning a manageable repair into a major one. Weak ignition can mimic transmission problems. Poor combustion wastes fuel and damages exhaust components. Fixing these early restores smoothness and efficiency, and saves the systems downstream from unnecessary heat and stress. The exhaust system works every mile without asking for attention. But after 100,000 miles, rust, vibration, and thermal cycling take their toll. Small leaks don't just make noise, they pull oxygen into the system, confuse sensors, and cause poor fuel control. Flex pipes crack. Hangers fail. Heat shields rattle. Catalytic converters can break internally, restricting exhaust flow and strangling engine performance. Catching corrosion early keeps sensors accurate and prevents expensive replacements. Miss it, and costs escalate quickly. And while rust attacks from the outside, something else quietly causes chaos under the hood. Electrical issues in high-mileage cars are often blamed on computers. In reality, they're voltage problems. Batteries weaken. Alternators lose output. Grounds corrode. Low voltage causes modules to misread sensors and behave erratically. Flickering lights, warning messages, rough running, false codes, it all traces back to poor electrical health. Testing the charging system, replacing aging batteries, and cleaning ground connections restore stability across the entire car. Most electronic nightmares disappear when proper voltage returns. Fix power delivery first, because once electronics stabilize, airflow and fueling become the next silent drain. Engines don't feel tired because they're worn out. Many feel tired because they can't breathe or fuel properly. After 100,000 miles, throttle bodies gum up. Injectors lose spray precision. Air filters clog. Intake passages collect deposits. The result is hesitation, poor throttle response, and rising fuel consumption. Cleaning restores airflow and balance. I've watched engines regain lost performance with nothing more than proper cleaning and filter replacement. It's inexpensive, effective, and prevents false sensor codes and unnecessary parts replacement later. And once airflow improves, oil leaks become easier to spot. Rubber doesn't age gracefully. Gaskets and seals harden and shrink over time. Valve covers seep. Oil pans drip. Main seals begin leaking. Small leaks aren't harmless. They soak belts, wiring, and sensors. Oil on hot exhaust parts becomes a fire risk. Oil on timing components can destroy engines. Catching leaks early prevents catastrophic chain reactions. I've seen minor seepage ignored until it soaked a timing belt and ended the engine. Repairing leaks costs hundreds. Ignoring them can cost thousands. And that leads directly to the most critical item after 100,000 miles. Timing components decide whether an engine lives or dies. If your engine uses a timing belt, it's a scheduled replacement, no debate. Chains last longer, but poor oil maintenance causes stretching and guide failure. When timing fails, pistons and valves collide. Engines don't recover. Every snapped belt story ends the same way: I was going to do it later. Later never comes. A timing service is expensive. Engine replacement is devastating. Protect the timing system, because the final decision about engine longevity comes down to oil. After 100,000 miles, oil choice matters more than oil interval. Engine wear patterns change. Clearances grow. Heat increases. The wrong viscosity accelerates wear. Too thin increases consumption and bearing damage. Too thick slows lubrication during cold starts when most wear occurs. High-mileage formulations can help, but manufacturer specs still matter. Quality filters. Consistent intervals. Regular dipstick checks. I've seen identical engines with identical mileage show completely different wear based on oil strategy alone. Cars don't die from age. They die from neglect disguised as normal wear. That's the truth about life after 100,000 miles. Not fear, awareness. Not luck, Maintenance. If even one of these insights saves you money, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who plans to keep their car for the long run. Comment below with your country, your car, and your mileage. I read every one. And don't miss the next video, where we break down the habits that push cars past 500,000 miles without major repairs.